The Chevy Corvette, a bit of a show stealer at the North American International Auto Show in Detroit this year. I am here with the head of GM's North American operations, Mark Royce. Good to see you once again.
Ryan, always a pleasure.
Now tell me a little bit about what this brand means to GM now. This is not a car that typically sells a lot of units. So why is it important?
Well, it is the leader in segment. So, sports cars and fast performance cars tend to have a little bit smaller segment, but it has been the leader in segment here for quite a while until the C6 began to age, and we've seen some tailing off of that, and that's why we're doing a new one.
Typically, the buyers of this vehicle skew on the older side. Loose terms around older, but they're not 20.
Yeah, I was going to say, what are you talking about?
They're not 20 and 30-year-olds.
All right,
so
fair enough.
You're trying to broaden out the brand a little bit and attract a broader clientele.
It's time for a new one. The Corvette is somewhat unknown to some of the generations in the United States and North America, and so I think that the design and the performance and the value have to be the right equation to open that back up to what this car really is, and I think you'll see it in the design here. It's very sophisticated, very technical, and very progressive. And I think it's more than an evolution of what C6 was. It's really very progressive, and we took some risk. And I think it really, and we asked people in different age groups what they thought of the car. It was very exotic looking to most people. So the price point of this, though, it has to be obtainable. It has to be very aspirational, which we think the car is. Performance-wise, I'll put it against any car in the world, but I think it has to be very aspirational. I think the new generation here captures that, and that's why we're calling it Stingray.
All right, that's the fun stuff to talk about.
Yeah, it is.
Now,
very fun.
Now let's talk about the less fun stuff.
Sure.
Market share.
Yeah.
It's not where you want to be. I know you say you worry about it every year I talked, but it's now at the lowest in decades.
Okay, but let's talk about by how much.
Okay, that's fine. Small percentage.
Yeah, it is. We missed in November, and we missed. We did not incent as hard with trucks in November, and so we came back and looked at what the market was doing, on a detailed basis, and readjusted our incentives to be in line with the rest of the industry for December. We had a great December. We cleared our inventory in preparation for the turnover for our new trucks. And so, we were generally speaking right at the inventory level that we wanted to be when we go to launch.
So you're more positive going into this year then?
Oh yes,
okay.
Oh yes, absolutely. We're going to turn 80% of the portfolio in General Motors North America here over the next 12 months, 80%. It is the biggest turnover, we think, in automobile industry history here of new products. So every month, every 2 months, we're going to have a new product that we put into the market.
How much would you like to see market share increase by?
We don't put targets on market share, and the reason is because we have a bad history of before bankruptcy of looking at month by month, sales and market share as the end all. You have to look at market share as the summation of the result of what you're doing right in the company or wrong, and so loyalty and price and value and the product is everything. And the other thing we're looking at is the customer sales and service experience. We have revamped that over the last 3 years. So this was in preparation of this product offensive.
Your treasurer spoke here at the auto show last night about the stigma of government motors.
Right.
We still have government ownership.
Yes.
I know you'd like to have an investment credit rating, investment grade credit rating, but is it really a distraction for consumers? I mean, do people sit there and say, oh, I'm not going to buy a GM car because the government owns part of it, or is that really just something that is being bandied about, but is perhaps not the case? I find it hard to believe someone is going to say, oh, the government owns it, I'm not going to buy the car.
Well, there's people that absolutely feel that way, and rightfully so. So I'm very realistic about that. I don't know how many, but I'm very realistic about that. The only way to do that and counteract that is not to talk about history, but rather focus on what we're doing from a product standpoint, and watch our products take hold because of what they are, and that's really the only way to get out of it.
So what's the outlook for sales for 2013, and are you worried about some of this momentum we've seen falling back? The consumer is going to pay more in taxes. It might be slight, but it's more.
It is more. Just by the Bush tax cuts expiring, if by no other reason. So I think that's fair. I do think there's a lot of pent-up demand, and so if you look at this and the average age of vehicles right now, there's still a huge amount of pent-up demand. We see a little bit of housing recovery too, so because people are beginning to see credit availability both in cars and houses and big purchases. So those are all very positive signs. I don't think there's a big blowout of things that are going to happen, but between 15 and 15.5 million units next year, pretty reasonable estimate. And I think we feel pretty good about that.
Can you have gains that are strong enough in North America that counter the ongoing problems that you're having in Europe, you and everyone else? I mean, that's still,
well, yeah, I mean, Europe is very tough for all of us. But I think our North American profits, you'll see very strong here. You saw that in 2012, and I think we're very, very concentrated on making money as a company, obviously, and selling as many of the new cars and trucks that we have in the pipeline and getting ready to launch. So.
All right. Mark Royce, GM, good to see you.
Thank you very much. Good to see you as always, Rhonda. Yeah, thank you.
I'm Rhonda Schaffler. This is Reuters.